Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. Thank you for being here. Notice is hereby given of a regular meeting of the District's Board of Directors to be held at 105 Port Road, Port Isabel, Texas, on May 10th, 2023, at the hour of 5:30 p.m. for consideration of the business of the agenda below. This notice is posted at the office of the district on May 4th, 2023, at 4:15 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551-041-551-050, not less than 72 hours prior to the time of the said meeting. We do have the presence of a quorum. Presently have Mr. Botter, Dr. Lalonde, and Mr. Friedman. Running late, possibly Mr. Starkey notified us that he will be joining us through the meeting sometime, and Mr. Donahue is out with notification. So if I may please have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ, I guess let's bless this day and have a good board meeting to discuss our points for discussion and say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Let's move to item 3, the invitation to the audience for public comment. Board, staff, audience members, Zoom members, anyone at this time? Let's move to item 4. Consider and discuss for possible approval the minutes for the regular meeting from April 26, 2023.
So moved.
A motion made by Dr. Lalonde, second by Mr. Botter. Are all those in favor? They are. None are opposed. Motion carries. Item 5, General Manager's report.
I just have I provided the copies in front of you there for the reservoir levels. They're at 28.9% combined. And about a month ago, we were at 25%. We're expecting to follow through with the 30 days that it requires for us to post that drought management plan to be in effect. But it never happened. It started raining some more up north. And we finally are at 28.9 today. So that means we're still holding off on that drought management plan. And hopefully it'll rain some more. I think the last 2 nights we've been having thunderstorms that are really strong winds. A lot of damage, a lot of work in a lot of places. But anyhow, 28.9 as of today.
My kayak.
No damage to any water district stuff?
Not that we know of yet, but nothing in particular. I know my house, my fence fell down, so I gotta repair that after 25 years. Right? These repairs.
Unfortunately. Let's move then to item 6, Director of Operations report.
Chairman, members of the board, the operations report for April, call-outs and service calls were 312 compared to March of 309. So there was an increase of 3. The differences were in customer service and distribution as well as call-outs, which affected the type of call-outs, which is in disconnect customers, informational, faulty meters and transmitters, that increased by 27. And of course, work on angle valves, but that decreased by 10. On the collection side, we had 53 call-out service calls compared to the month of March, there were 100, so that dropped by 47. And that difference was in collection itself and preventive maintenance, which dropped considerably there. And then in the pre-treatment lift station, that was relatively pretty much the same. There was 31 items there that they worked on as far as the lift stations and pre-treatment. compared to 28 that they worked on for the month of March. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. It's carried. Item 7, district engineers report, Charles.
All right, so I guess the first item here is the Blanca wastewater treatment plant. And really, you know, we've been trying to piecemeal it over time and getting bits and pieces done. But, you know, just basically as we're starting to dive into it, you know, it's, for example, the headworks is really one of the top priorities because we're seeing from all the grit and the headaches it's been causing there. Just the estimate for that portion of work alone, right now we're looking at 3.1 million, which is something beyond, you know, a fund balance. I mean, we'd be happy to look at issuing some kind of revenue note at some point. And so, you know, I guess that's the main update for Isablanca is, you know, there will be it's not a matter of if, it's when, you know, when we're gonna have to request a revenue note, and we better be addressing all those project components at once. So, you know, we already have however started on that engineering effort. So pretty much there's a proposal for action to do the surveying services that they're gonna need to start working on that task that they already have from the previous approvals. So that's really the main update for Isablanca, unless there's any further questions on it. All right, so I guess the next one we have is just the status of the Texas Water Development Board loan. And, you know, we did receive bids for waterfront loan. They came pretty good. So basically, you know, we had a engineer's estimate from the invitation bid on the base bid of 15.1 million. We received one bid, and the base bid amount was 11.6 million. And so with that, as our starting point, we're also wanting to award the ground storage tank with our current GO bonds that are in the bank. And that was basically also an item that we wanted to, we were using for the $50 million request, the farm out for the SRF loan. So since we're able to fund that with the GO bonds, that kind of gives us an opportunity of how to repurpose that $50 million request for that SRF loan. And so right now, I guess, you know, just I suppose our path forward is to keep a request at 50 million for the SRF loan that's under technical review. But with our current balance, pretty much that gives us an availability of 4.755 million for a new scope of work. And so, you know, with our priorities on seawater desalination, pretty much we're requesting or trying to pursue that modification to already get that effort going forward with seawater, using this loan that's still under technical review at this time. So that's basically, you know, the status. I mean, there's going to be a lot of environmental implications that we'll have to resolve, and so we have an initial meeting with Texas Water Development Board tomorrow at 4 p.m. just to see how much flexibility is available for the loan. But that's kind of, you know, our path forward in terms of keeping the requested amount at 50 million, and we're eyeing about 4.7 million to go towards the seawater project if we keep that farm out the same. And so that's, I guess that's the status of that loan right now. If you agree with proceeding within that direction.
Do you want to commingle the funds, or do you want to start a separate for the $4 million? Are you going to?
Well, I think, I guess the question is, because the 4.7 million in that Proposition 2 authorization, I mean, that could be considered as a GO bond versus a revenue note. So, I mean, those are the questions to see if you can actually make, you know, place that request between a revenue commitment and a tax commitment using that seawater portion of our 50 million that we already have authorization on.
Because the 4.7, I don't want to see used in anything but building or construction purposes, not in services.
Well, yeah, I mean, the only thing available at this point is the planning and acquisition design. So it's going to be the permitting, the design. I mean, we wouldn't consider that this 4.7 million for construction services on the seawater portion of it. It would be like piloting and kind of getting to it. I mean, at most, you know, Paul Corporation right now, they're reviewing a change in materials. you know, in about a month or two, they may give us a dollar amount for what it's gonna take to upgrade the MF. That's already under contract to get it ready for seawater as a pre-filter to reverse osmosis. But we don't know what that number is yet. We'll have that, you know, in a month or two. So there's still a lot of unknowns, you know, for how we're gonna get this portion of the loan. If we're gonna keep it at the same requested amount, or if we want to consider, you know, lowering the amount to what we need and keep seawater as an entirely separate
I
request.
think it should be entirely separate. It's my comment.
Yeah, that's, I mean, it makes sense to me. So that's basically, you know, I think if we want to keep it separate, essentially we lower our power amount, you know, approximately, you know, 4.7 million, because we don't need more than that, than a $10 million request to complete the work.
Can we use that money for another project or something besides, move the seawater to the side, but can you use this money to fund something else that we need to get done?
Well, I mean, just because the scope is just not, because, I mean, we're talking about an application from March 2021.
Right.
And I mean, that's just the scope really isn't there. We have to really stretch to try to get something created.
What about for the pipeline repair that goes to the island?
I mean, the change in scope
We
would
can
be
ask.
just the same.
We can
right?
ask.
Yeah.
That's what the call is for tomorrow, for asking what we can do and what we can't do. So it's up to the board if y'all decide to keep that 4.7 for other construction.
I would like to see that, yes,
Like,
because you have the
the
money set
pipeline?
aside and it's budgeted and everything's there, but I don't want to see us use it in services and professional and that sort of stuff. If it needs to be used for its intended purpose.
And it can't be used on the wastewater side, it's gotta be on the water.
Right.
So,
Just my comment on it.
Yeah. Well, also, you know, I mean, it would be if we can reduce that, because, you know, the $15 million request on a revenue note.
Borrow less and pay it down and pay it off sooner.
Yes, I mean, just to reduce that stress on our debt service
Right.
coverage and everything else, just lower that farm amount down, which is what we need versus, you know, kind of asking more than the project's really ready to proceed with
That would
construction.
be my recommendation.
I'm with you, Scott. Yep, I support what he's saying. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
me too. It shouldn't just be a little thought that should be directed. I agree.
Not a slush fund.
So then well, I guess it's gonna be, I mean, if we stick to the current scope of work that's described in the report, I mean, essentially, the path forward would be just simply reducing the loan request amount to match the estimated cost for completion of that effort. And then all of the requests would be a whole new start on a different application.
If you could use it for something important that you need it for, then I would do it, as Carlos suggested, you know, in terms of water to the island. But if that's denied, then yeah, borrow less money.
Yeah, you guys, you'll know tomorrow, right? Kind of the scope of what you can do with it.
We're gonna ask tomorrow, that's correct.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess, you know, that's the other we're at on the loan.
Okay.
And then I guess that kind of transitions into a presentation by Norris Leal for seawater. So I guess I'm gonna go.
Good evening. You should have a packet. It's a larger handout, but it's a short report.
We've heard that before.
Promises. That concludes my report. You can read at your leisure. No, this kind of follows along the scope that we had to start the project. So kind of the biggest deal is the TCQ discharge permit. Should have put my phone on mute. TCQ discharge permit is a big deal, and that's basically what is attached is we got this week from Seawater Desalination for Public Water Systems. And it's quite detailed on how long it's going to take them to review certain things with the project. So I'm not going to read through it, but it was very interesting. They must have just put this together this past week, probably because of Corpus Christi and all the things that are going on in that area. So it's good. I mean, it's not anything that we don't expect, but it's kind of a good work. And so the meeting that we have scheduled with them is on May the 25th, right after our next board meeting in Austin. And I've not seen such interest, and I think the interest is good. Sometimes interest can be bad, but they want to know all about it. And so what we plan on doing by that meeting is having several different drawings showing what the plan, the preliminary plan is, kind of the treatment process, and what the discharge qualities is expected to be. And so we'll have everybody from plan review to biological. I mean, they'll probably have at least eight of their experts in all the different fields that will be involved in this project. They think this is an important project, and so the people that I haven't heard from in years call me and say, "Hey, tell me about this." So it is
Our project.
your project, yes. So I think it's good. We're hitting the ground in the correct way, that we're taking one step at a time, even though there is a sense of urgency because you need the water. But, the money that might be coming down, getting ahead of myself, the money that's coming down the pipe is of $1 billion for seawater and Rikers desal projects. And if you gave half the project to a 25 MGD or 50 MGD plant, that money would be gone there. They want to spread it out a little further. And yours is not necessarily considered small, but it's probably isn't small when it's considering seawater desal. So I think that speaks well for the project. So the things that we're working on beyond the permit, we said we would work with all the consultants and entities that you're working with, including Freeze and Nichols. We had a call today, the Water Development Board, and we've got a call tomorrow with them. All Water, who's your equipment supplier, the Bureau of Reclamation, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and TCQ in the treatment process. So those are just the list of the things that we need to at least be hand in hand going together. So that's what we've been doing. Going to, we're waiting on Paul for they're doing a feasibility report, and so we'll help review that with the staff. We're still evaluating the tree blending. I know if you recall that there's been thought to bring in seawater into your raw water reservoir. I'm still looking at that aspect of it, and so I just got all the raw water data, so I'll have something to report next meeting, or on the first meeting of May. Funding sources, been in discussion with Tom Fraser. He's our executive director of Texas Desal. He's also a lobbyist, and so I got some of the latest information from him. Everything seems to be passing through the Senate and House, and it will go to the voters. But there's unknown on how it's going to be allocated, but we need to be there every step of the way. As soon as they make a decision, we change our directions as needed. Piloting, we're preparing the protocol for pilot, and pretty much we've been working a lot of different fingers going around, but the big thing is the permit to get that going, and see what the Water Development Board has to say about the funding, which what you said, there wouldn't be any funds necessarily for the desal, but we're going to sit it on and see what Water Development Board has to say tomorrow. But the seawater permit meeting on the 25th will tell us a lot. That's all I've got. Any questions?
Many awards.
Are you meeting with any actual lawmakers? Or have
I
plans to?
have.
Yeah.
So before we approved this, I was along with staff. We went to meet all the local Rio Grande lawmakers to help get this passed. And I'm not sure what influence they have on the funding, but the funding will probably go through the Water Development Board. Probably 99% chance that's going to happen. Now, what are the rules related to that? It won't have federal guidelines, which is a good thing, because now you don't have to go through all the different aspects of federal red tape. And so we don't know what that's going to look like yet.
Who are the most important senators in the water development space?
Senator chairman of the, actually, finance committee. He's going to introduce the bill. And then on the House side, the House bill will be introduced by the chairman of the House Natural Resources Committee. And so visit with both of those. I mean, we didn't need to visit with them on those because they're the ones behind the bill. But I think your representative is.
You're
on
showing
the-
interest to them.
Yes,
Is
your
the
representative
driver.
is on the House Natural Resources Committee. What's her name?
Jane.
Yeah, and that's her district. So that's a pretty powerful committee for water. So
What's the governor's staff, what's their opinion on this?
I haven't seen anything from the governor.
Nothing behind the scenes, so but I assume, do we assume he's behind this? It's a lot to go this
I
far.
would assume, I mean, it's one of the things that's held steadfast through a very weird legislative session, from what I understand. It's just been crazy. According to Kyle Frazier, I'm not involved in the day-to-day, but he said it's been a crazy session. But this bill's been unanimous everywhere.
I mean, your reservoir showing 28%. So it's kind of self-explanatory.
So Kyle was saying in 30 years of his working with the legislatures, he's never seen this much emphasis. It's always been education or some other aspect carried a lot more weight than water. We'll see.
It's a proactive approach.
Yeah, it's about time.
I did put a copy of Kyle Frazier's information in there, but I'll bring it up at the next board meeting. I put it in a copy of this so y'all can read it at your own leisure time, but yeah, it's very important that we have somebody like him up there, the president of the DSAL Association. Kyle Frazier has been around for many years, working with a lot of legislators and lawmakers and all that, so.
What are the stipulations with the district getting involved with a lobbyist? Are there any?
Well, he's gonna be looking into it, but
Yeah.
I believe since we're governmental.
We're a governmental entity, but I know state agencies can't hire lobbyists. I don't think we're an agency for the purpose of the statute. So I'll look into it to make sure. I know my water supply corporations employ lobbyists. We're more of a governmental entity, but we're not an agency, so it's probably okay, but I'm gonna look at it.
No, because they can't pay with state funds.
What's that?
The state agencies can't have
Right.
a,
Well, we're a
Lobbyist.
municipality though.
Right, we're not,
and we have local funds, that's what we use it for. We're not using state funds.
yeah, I think it's probably fine, but I'll make sure.
Okay. That you're borrowing from the.
Right. Just want to double check. Thank you. Thank you, Will. Glad to see this project is growing. Okay, let's carry on to item 8. Consider and discuss for possible approval of surveying services, East LeBlanca Water Treatment Plant.
And these are the surveying services to basically provide data governing to around that's for East LeBlanca requesting approval of $11,575 to get all the survey done for this.
Yes, we need to wait till the doctor comes back. So,
Yeah, I move that we approve.
yeah, we need to,
We need a quorum.
wait just a few minutes.
I'll text him. I move that we approve.
So you should repeat or we're good or?
Let's repeat, please.
All right. All right. So yeah, just to recap, now we're back and forth.
So sorry.
So no problem. Now it's just, we're on the action item number 8, as far as the, considering the surveying services, for Bosco surveying to perform the topo and the data that parties to complete the recommendation of the plans already supplied sewer plan. So requesting approval for 11,575 to complete the total for the site.
So moved. Motion made by Dr. Lalonde, seconded by Mr. Bonner. All those in favor? They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Take it to item 9, consider and discuss for possible award of construction contract for water system improvements, water plant 1, bid number WP 1-04-23-01.
Right, so we received, on May 2nd, 2023, we received a single bid from Ferguson Service Systems Incorporated out of Vallejo, Texas. And their base bid amount for the microfiltration construction was $11,636,400. Alternate number 1 amount was the ground storage tank for $2.7 million. Alternate 2, backup generator for $1.25 million. Alternate 2, and then also for the buyer, basically signing the existing corporation contract, the general contractor. And so the portion is $4,741,600. And then also provide the airport train for $46,000. So between the base bid and the final alternates, we're recommending the board for its base bid amount for $11,636,400. Recommending an award for the ground storage tank, $2.7 million. And recommending an award for the $1,000 for the installation of the stream. The backup generator, the backup unit is going to be and then the so
I move that we approve.
Second.
Motion for approval made by Mr. Bonner, seconded by Dr. Lalonde. Are all those in favor? They are. Any opposed? None. Motion does carry. Thank you, Charles. Let's take it to item 10, Director of Finance report. Eddie?
Just want to give the board an update on investments. Last month, we had a security from 2022 tax bond that matured on March 31st for par amount $8.1 million, originally purchased for $8 million. And so the earnings on this was $165,000 for the 6-month period. So after evaluating our projected spend down for the tax bond project, we decided that we could reinvest this money for 12 months. So we conducted a solicitation. 7 banks responded, and the best offer was 5.5 for 12 months. So we went ahead and placed that.
That's a good rate.
So I want to give an update on the transition for Depository Bank. We have already started transferring our money to Plains Capital Bank. Checks have been ordered, some have been implemented, some of them haven't. We're also still waiting on the Federal Reserve Bank to transfer our account from PNC to Plains Capital for our collateral. So we've only sent over by FDIC, $250,000 by FDIC, and we're waiting for the Federal Reserve to process that change. So we haven't fully transitioned, but we're already making our daily deposits at Plains Capital. Additionally, we received the money from our LIV project. We closed on that on the 27th. That money actually be deposited in because we hadn't opened the account yet at Plains Capital. This 19.75 received, and we also received $380,000 which is our first debt. It's due September 1st, and that is accounting for set aside for that first payment before we start the designated area.
And that money sits in an account, and does it generate interest?
Yes, so
And what can happen with that interest?
similar to the way that we are doing our tax bond, where we project a spend down, we identify funds that can be targeted for investments. That money is added to the project fund. There are certain conditions that we are allowed to spend it. So there's rules that the IRS has on how much money you can make on money that's given to you by the federal government. And so if you make more than what you borrowed at, you have to pay it back to the IRS. So our challenge is to try to spend that money as quickly as possible, because that's the best and easiest exemption. Falls under the ability to, if you can spend the money within the first 3 years, pay it back. So that would essentially just be added to the project. But there's a few other conditions. We have a company. There's a specialized calculation on to see if what exemptions we qualify for, and so that we can pay as little as possible back to the IRS.
What you pay back is only basically a tax on your earnings, on your interest earnings, correct?
The difference, yes, between if you earned more than what you paid in interest, that difference is what gets paid back.
So, but all of that has to go towards the project. We can't use that to build something else outside of the LIV project. Is that correct?
Not the 19 million.
Not the 19, yeah, interest on the 19, right? But I mean, that could generate quite a bit of money though, to help with that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Are we able to put it in CDs? I mean, what do we put it in? Just an interest-bearing account?
Yes, we're putting it in CDs or securities, whatever is best at the time that we're looking at. So, like for our purposes, we are exploring both securities and investments. Like in this case, the $8 million that I reported today was a security, but when we went out for the solicitation, the CDs were paying better, so we moved the CD.
I mean, it's not crazy to think that on 19 million you could make what, 750,000 a year. That's if we're getting around 4%.
Yeah, this 8 million made what, 160,000 for 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, we should be able to. That should help with overruns. Certainly, the amount of interest we can generate in the first 3 years on that.
Yeah,
I'm hopeful.
So yeah, that's our challenge, to try to spend the money as quickly as possible, which allows us to be able to basically keep on that.
All right, thanks.
Yes. Thank you, Eddie.
Takes us to item 11. Consider and discuss for possible approval of the financial reports for February 2023 and to acknowledge them. No, these are approvals.
Yes.
Approval made by Mr. Butter and
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Lalonde. All those in favor? None. What's that? Motion carries.
Just call me doctor. I got 4 years of college.
Item 12, consider and review expenditures from April 16th, 2023 through April 30th, 2023. We need to acknowledge these. Acknowledged by Mr. Butter, acknowledged by Dr. Lalonde, acknowledged by Mr. Friedman. Takes us to item 13. We adjourn this meeting at 6:08 p.m.